It happens that the city of St. Louis, as of today, contains the highest bee diversity of any major city in North America. The total number of bees that you have, yes, it's important, but how many different kinds of bees you have also matters a lot, because different flowers require different bee species to pollinate them. So you have things like squash bees, and you have hibiscus bees, and you have longhorn bees, and you have that specialize in different kinds of flowers. When you look at plants, and you look at birds, and you look at mammals, their overall diversity as you get closer to the city gets lower and lower and lower. Alternatively for bees is the opposite. You know, compared to the surrounding suburban and rural and agricultural sites, our diversity is higher in the city environment than in those areas.
Bee populations are declining, and St. Louis seems to be a hub of where the bees are going. And so we need to understand why that is, and maybe we can learn from that and help bees succeed better in other locations.
The students, we collect the bees via aerial netting.
If we see a bee, we'll swing our net at it, catch it, and we will take them back to our lab and identify the species from that specific location at that specific day.
We also gather pollen from the bees, and we count the total number of bees that are present here. We identify which flowers are blooming, so we can later on, much later on, match the various pollens found in the different bees back to the different species that were blooming.
As this place in particular has a lot of clumped resources where the flowers have been planted specifically to attract bees, and that's really useful for catching them. And then the other one that we're working on down by the riverfront is a little bit less intentional in what it has there. And it's interesting to see the separation of what is living at each of these sites, even though they're only maybe a mile away from each other, and how we might be able to alter that just by introducing a few more species.
A lot of people ask me why bees whenever I say I'm working with bees. Is they're important for our food, and that's one thing that most people don't know is 1/3 of the food that we eat, of the calories we consume, are from bee pollinated plants. So one thing I usually always stress is bees are vital for not only the environment, but for humans as well.
Of all the pollinators, bees are the only group of pollinators that intentionally collects pollen. Everybody else is hummingbirds, bats, butterflies. They gather the pollen accidentally. So you have a hummingbird, the hummingbird comes to the flower, it gets a face full of pollen, which is not fun, and then you kind of go to the other side and pollinate. A bee will intentionally, like bumblebees will sonicate, or squash bees will roll. They have specific behaviors for the sole purpose of gathering pollen. And because of that, they are the absolute best pollinator by far of all plants in nature that require animal pollination. So ultimately the goal is to understand what is it that we're doing in cities and replicate it in surrounding areas so their bee diversity comes up.